Welcome to another Linleys video. Hi, I'm Warren Brandon. Today I'm out for a wander to explore the lovely trail along the 4-mile section of the Basingstoke Canal as it passes from the very top of Hampshire by the Farnborough Airport to Ash in Surrey. I've met up with Alan, a local resident who knows the canal very well. He has kindly offered to point out some interesting features and historical aspects as we walk along the towpath. We join the canal from a little car park overlooking the airfield. As we start off and I take a look over the runway, it occurred to me that when the canal navvies were hard at work here around 1790, they would have overlooked the broad flat lands of Laffin's Plain, a name which seems to have been lost over time, but without a thought that some 200 years later there would be fast private jet planes leaving the ground just here. The Basingstoke Canal is a branch from the River Way navigation, built to provide a link for goods from London to the northern heartland of Hampshire. Goods from the London docks travelled west, while the returning barges carried timber back to the city. I've spotted a couple of really large old trees just off the side of the towpath, like this one. Is it possible to non-invasively tell how old trees are? I wonder if this tree dates back to the early years of the canal. How many goods barges has it seen being pulled slowly past by horse back in the old days? There's a lot of wildlife to spot, on the water or in the trees. The lovely countryside and general lack of pollution must be fit for wildlife to enjoy and thrive. And most of the time, it's so peaceful.
Yeah, so they go.
You couldn't let it go. That must be a new.
Aye.
During recent years, the canal has become a popular tourist route for holiday barges, cyclists, runners and kayaks. Most days, holiday boats travel slowly up and down, stopping at the towns, pubs and places of interest along the way. A couple of the bridges over the canal are part of the Army's facilities. This old pipe bridge is really rickety looking, but the footbridge further along, up ahead, is new. Aldershot Wharf is next. This used to be a major stopping point for barges as they navigated out from London. The information board here describes how the canal was a key feature in the establishment of the army garrison in the area. The North Camp, as a name used today of course, and the South Camp were built using materials brought to the area along the canal. All along the canal side, we spotted occasionally partly buried old boundary marker stones. These relate to the old army grounds, each uniquely numbered and shown on old OS maps. The majority of this section is bordered by mixed woodlands in which, hidden mostly out of sight, are army buildings of all sorts, including stores, vehicle depots and accommodation. Some new and some old, but all part of a very long, well-established presence by the army in this area, dating back to 1854. And here's another grand old tree, standing proudly, overlooking the water, masterly along the side of the towpath.
There's a lake over there.
Oh, well, maybe that's the lake that it spoke about. Yeah.
Could be.
Ashlock comes next. It's numbered 29 in the Basingstoke Canal sequence and is actually the last one along the route out from leaving the way navigation. There are no more locks west of here, all the way to Basingstoke. First constructed in 1790, it would have seen regular use for over 150 years until the end when the canal fell out of use before the First World War. But even before the building of the fast railway line from London to Southampton, the canal was struggling to be financially viable. From around 1910, the canal became overgrown and unusable, although most of the route was kept clear. Key assets like the locks remained, while some sections of the canal became silted up. This old photo dates back to 1973, just prior to the beginning of the revival of the canal, but that's another whole story. Alan and I are stopping here for a coffee and a lunch break. The rain has eased off and the sun is beginning to shine. Having dived under the road here, the level of the surrounding countryside falls away by as much as 15 metres, but the canal continues contained by its earthen sides along a broad embankment across the wide Blackwater Valley. The lakes lower down on the left side here are now managed for fishing. The name of the Golden Valley dates back to when the area was marshy and tended to flood. For decades, this would have been a peaceful, wide bow in the canal, needed so that the canal could follow the contours as much as possible. For over 100 years during the 1800s, this area would have seen very little change, except for the towns of Aldershot and Ash growing up with the army town too. Until, that is, in 1995, the valley was carved up by the relatively new A331, a primary link road between the A3 near Guildford and the M3 near Frimley. The A331 would have severed the canal if it wasn't for the installation of a long aqueduct as a bridge over the new dual carriageway road below. The long aqueduct keeps the canal open for the future. The canal tradesfolk, often called boatmen, using the waterway back and forth along here, would have heard the fast new mainline railway just to the north from 1840. There are other local lines in the area too, and 2 lines cross the canal near here. They crisscross up through the Blackwater Valley. After several most enjoyable hours walking along the canal, Alan and I arrived at Ash. We'll pause our journey here, but do have plans to continue on. I hope you've enjoyed following along with us, knowing more about this part of the canal system, and we'll look out for a follow-on episode sometime soon. From Alan and I, thanks for watching and bye for now.